This lecture describes how the oil market is globally integrated and the consequences of it being so for oil independence and oil security or energy security. So one important question about the oil market is the market regional? Is there, in other words, is there a US market? Is there a Middle East market? Or is the market a global market? And William Nordhaus, the man on this slide, has something to say about this. He says that transactions in an integrated global market will be the outcome of a multitude of individual supplies and demands, but the price and the total quantity will be determined only by the sum of the demands and the sum of the supplies. Their composition is irrelevant. He relates the world oil market to more like a bathtub. We can think of the faucets of the bathtub being regions of supply, like the US supplies oil and the Middle East supplies oil, Venezuela supplies oil. But the market is basically a gigantic bathtub where we all dump our oil into it, and we have faucets, drains at the other end, which are the demands, US demand, China demand, etc. The composition of these is irrelevant. Why might this be the case? The costs of transporting oil are low. We basically just put it in boats or pipelines and let it move slowly around the globe. It doesn't go bad, so it can sit forever. I mean, it has been sitting for millions of years. It's not going to go bad if it sits in a boat for several months. Crude oils of different geographic origins are largely interchangeable, meaning that if you're a refiner, you can purchase crude oil from the US or you can purchase it from Venezuela. You don't care. You're going to purchase the one that is the cheapest price. Different crudes can be blended. So if you need more crude than one country is providing, you can blend crudes from two different countries. This means that crude oil is a fungible resource. A shortfall in one region can be made up by shipping the same or similar oil there from elsewhere in the world. Let's do a little test of this. The law of one price, a test of an integrated market. The law of one price says that in international trade, if there were no obstacles to trade, such as tariffs and no cost of transporting goods, the price of a good would be the same all over the world. So here's 31 different crude oil price trends from all over the world, plotted against each other. We can see that there's differences in the prices. Maybe green is a little higher than purple on average, but that's probably due to the fact that green's maybe a better quality oil, a lighter oil than purple. Purple might be a heavy oil. But generally, these prices move together. When one moves up, all the rest move up. And vice versa. When one moves down, all the rest move down. So this is a pretty clear picture that the prices of oil around the world are moving together. So there's an integrated oil market. Nordhaus makes the case that the oil market is globally integrated. So what are the consequences of this integrated oil market? Energy independence versus energy security. Energy independence is defined as domestic production of all energy consumed. So we no longer would rely on imports of energy of any source, oil, electricity, etc. For the present conversation, we're talking about oil, so this would be oil independence. We would no longer import oil. We would domestically produce all of the oil we consume. Energy security, on the other hand, is not the same as energy independence. This is essentially reasonably priced energy, low gas prices, no oil price shocks or stable gas prices, and no macroeconomic disruptions. For example, increased oil and gas prices reduce economic output by effectively lowering incomes. If the price of gas goes up, we have to pay more for gasoline. That's a larger fraction of our income, and therefore we can't spend our money elsewhere. And so we have macroeconomic disruptions. So this is what we really care about at this point. For most consumers, we don't care about where our oil is coming from because we've seen oil is fungible. I don't care if I'm burning gasoline from Venezuela or the Middle East. All I care about is that I'm burning gasoline and that it's cheap and that it's stably priced and I can rely on it. So energy independence is irrelevant at this point. Another reason Nordhaus argues that energy independence is irrelevant is because of globalization. As the price of oil goes up, it means that the goods that we consume that are produced using oil in China, for example, the price of those goods will increase as well. And so even if we became independent in the United States, if our oil consumption was domestically produced, the price of the goods that we consume that we import from China that rely on oil for production and transportation will increase if there's a global oil price shock. So again, Nordhaus argues that independence is irrelevant. What we really care about is security. So now I want you to take a short quiz on the consequences of oil as a fungible resource and an integrated oil market.